This morning to welcome. No problem. Good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome Leo Silvestri, along with his good friend Reno, and they're going to share with us what they do in terms of assisting the Monarch growth between here and Mexico. Without further ado, we'd like Leo to come up and share with us his story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Terry's going to hook them up.
He's gonna send it to her. Or do you want to send it? Let him hook up the Zoom stuff.
Yeah, because that won't go on the screen.
No, but it's HDMI.
Yeah, but we don't disconnect.
We would have to disconnect our Zoom people.
Ah, okay.
We'll make do.
You want this up there? No, but
For reference.
If he goes on Zoom, he can share his screen.
Yeah.
I know.
But just thinking.
I'll just quickly mention in the last few months, Leo and Reno have been instrumental in helping the environmental committee that Deborah's leading up. The Operation Pollination. Leo provided us with hundreds of seed packages, as well as knowledge that we were able to share with the community at Art in the Park, which was great when we ran out of product after the first day because it was such a large crowd, like 40,000+ people that came through Art in the Park over a 2-day period. Deborah reached out to Leo and he provided us with additional product for the next one.
my good friend Reno has been with me since in the beginning of 2018. Basically, I've been here in Windsor since the 1970s. All I've done is paint houses. Sorry about my voice and my accent. I had a bad cold starting Friday, and Sunday morning I lost my voice completely. So back when I go through. But if you can read, basically, this is what this thing is all about. I'll stay out of the way. If you really want to attract Monarch to your garden, it's very simple things to do. 3 things are the major. One is, of course, the plant milkweed, because that will give them a reason to come in, nectar on their flowers, and lay the eggs on the milkweed leaves. If they're not there, well, you want to.
Next slide.
It's not right.
Way past.
There you go.
Now it's too big, probably. But that was the wrong one, the PowerPoint. My computer has it on Leap Office, and everything is restricted, But anyways, it's a little bit awkward with somebody else's computer. But manually, all it is basically is to have 3 things in place and to have a Monarch in your garden all summer long. 1, you can plant a milkweed. 2, you can just plant nectar, what we call rich nectar flowers. And the other would be to have a boat. Now, if you have a boat, they'll never leave you alone all summer long. That I guarantee you. Simply because they need the milkweed to lay their eggs. The female needs the milkweed to lay the eggs. But the male is always following a female, regardless wherever she goes. Because as soon as she empties the sack, with the eggs, well, he wants to be the first in line, to mate with the female. And then another male, of course, is also looking for the same thing to do. So this is what creates that traffic, really, in people's garden. Now, these are the basic 3 most common milkweed that we have in our area that are native and they grow pretty well just about in any soil. Your common milkweed, your swamp, and your butterfly weed. This is basically the the most common milkweed, and that's why the name, it's common. It grows just about anywhere, ditches, roadsides, probably your backyard, because your neighbor had some pods, and then you never forgot to take them out, and then the wind spread it all over the place. The swamp milkweed now is something like a flower. You can put it anywhere. Our garden is all cemented, actually, and I have it in pots, as you can see. And I'll show you some more pictures later. This is the butterfly weed, the ones with the orange, yellowish flower. The most nurseries, most stores that sells flowers in the spring can. And basically, this is the nectar for the adult, but also the food for their babies. They only lay eggs and milkweed. So if you don't have a milkweed, chances are you'll never see a butterfly egg, like a monarch butterfly egg. The whole cycle takes about 28 to 30 days. Each one will consume 5 to 7 of those large leaves that I was showing you earlier. And the number of plants suggested by just about anybody online is to have at least 10 plants of 2 species, because early in the spring, one will do good then, and then the other one will carry through the summer. That, of course, applies to most gardens in North America, but that's not to say that we are average. Most gardens in North America. Windsor, Essex County, as far as Kent, Chatham, I believe, we are in the center of both the migratory, north and south. North in the spring and migration south in the fall. And this attracts a lot of butterflies in that area. Now, I don't have to tell you what's in Kingsville and Livington, florists galore, the flowers everywhere. We have huge parks, huge garden flowers all around our city and our county. So we are getting an extra amount of these monarchs around. Except this year has been a strange year, but anyway, I'll tell you that in another story. So the reason why most experts in the area do recommend maybe 10 to 20 plants to provide enough food, enough food for their life cycle, basically. So sorry again for all this messed up. Now, this is the biggest mistake about milkweed. When I show the actual pictures that I have printed during other presentation and even at the table, when people look at that, they say, well, what is that? Well, I said, this is when people have only 1 or 2 milkweed plants somewhere by accident that the wind brought in through the fluff in the fall, and the milkweed will grow. The butterfly, the monarch, doesn't know that that is the only plant. So she happened to lay 17 eggs on this particular plant, and then everybody ran out of food by the time that they got to instead of 5, close to 4, close to 5. But anyway, the lady happened to be there, so she emailed me from an article that she saw in the Windsor Life magazine, and she says, "What can I do?" Well, I said, "Either you go out and find milkweed, or let me come over there and I'll ask you to get the caterpillar and bring it into to my garage." But anyway, as it turned out, the story turned out very well. Actually, she did find somebody with milkweed. She grabbed the caterpillar in her garage, and all turned out to be butterflies. This is when people buy milkweed in pots. As you can see from the right, they can strip that plant in no time once they get to a certain size. So how to convert with the plants, very expensive. This is the part that got me involved in what I'm doing. Simply because when I started it back in 2017, I was raising home a butterfly called black swallowtail. Anybody knows what a black swallowtail? Okay. So then by accident, I had to go to Google and I searched for something that I was interested to find out. and I used the word butterfly. So by using the word butterfly, well, Google gave me an option of all these butterflies that are around, especially in the southwestern Ontario. And when I saw this monarch, I was kind of interested. I said, well, let me read a little bit more, a little bit more. And before you know, I went online and I ordered 2 milkweed plants from Toronto because nobody around here had any plants. And I said, this is strange. What could be hard and not having wheat? I mean, wheat is wheat. It should grow by itself, right? But as it turned out, most people that I talked to later in the nursery world, they said, Leo, do you realize that people are spending money to get rid of weeds? They're paying, for chemicals. They're paying landscapers. And she goes, why do you want me to carry wheat? And then I explained, of course, this is a whole different type of wheat, and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, make a long story short, back in the fall of 2017 and 18, me and my good friend Dorino here, we went out and found all kinds of milkweed. So we started digging it and bring it to our backyard because there were millions of these plants everywhere. And sometimes due to construction, due to land development or whatever, those plants were going to go lost anyways. So we brought it home and give it to people that planted in their backyard. But then I said, I looked at myself and I said, hey, we can't be doing this for the rest of our life, digging plants just for the love of the monarch. We gotta find an easier way. That's when miracle struck. Somebody says, Leo, come to that river. I'll show you where you can pick up all the milkweed seeds that you want. And they were right across the street from our house in a ditch. I said, that is the thing that I need. She says, yeah. So I started picking up all these pods and then I took them home, I cleaned them, I dried them, and I started giving them away for free to anybody, including Bob. But anyways, that was the idea. So how easy can be to grow wheat? It's pretty easy. All you need some clean soil. We like to, excuse me for a second. So providing you're using free seeds, or you go to the store and buy your own, this thing is all messed up with that. Trust me, this is what this is all about. All you need really is a little clean soil, or potting soil, whatever you want to call it, and you can plant these things just about anywhere, anytime, except in the hot summer months. This is the way we do our winter sowing. Each one of those little pots have 2 to 3 seeds. You leave them outdoor in November and December, and then Mother Nature will do the cold stratification. That's another thing that a lot of people that have tried to grow milkweed in the past have failed because nobody had told them that you need to cold stratify. All it is 30 days in the fridge, and then the seed will germinate. And many other perennials, as I learned later, do the same requirement, the same requirement. But people were not told, so there's the story. So when it comes to spring, whether you start to receive indoor, outdoor, early March, or late, or early April, or in December, something like that will come up, regardless, by May, April, May. And then by summertime, this is a swamp milkweed. It's in a container, a good container, twice the size of this box at the side. And the stems that come out of that plant the second year, they're unbelievable. I took a picture one time where there were 14 monarchs, but then I only captured 12 at that time when I took that picture. My God, now I get lost to 2 of this thing. Okay, so your total investment. This is 4 cents 4 cents per plant. Most of these plants are sold locally between $8 to $14 in a gallon pot. Well, we just happened to have found a local nurseries that have been given the free seeds. She grew the plants and she's been selling them for $2 to $3 for the last 4 years anyways. So, but for most people, let's say they don't know, they don't want to see anybody, you go to a seed stand and you pick up a couple of bucks, any of the seeds, you can grow them yourself and basically for 4 cents each. That's basically it. And if you want to buy them, I have the name at the end of the list. Ann Bundy Nurseries on from the road on West Lamesburg. She has been our most helped nursery since we started this. And this year she was selling it for $1 and $2 each. So she has sold thousands of these plants. Now we got to the butterfly garden flowers. Well, there's basically 3 types of flowers that you want to use if you want to attract butterflies and pollinators. One is the early bloom, the second is the mid-season, and then the late flowering for the fall during the migration, whether it's butterflies or even for the other rest of the pollinators. You gotta have some of the ones that bloom a little bit. So there's the list. I'm not going to spend too much time on those. Now we did develop our own. I'm a pretty good cook. I don't know if some of you cook. So you develop your own kind of recipe. And for the last 4 years or 5 actually, I've been noticing when I started, that's all I do: the butterfly bush, flower, Mexican sunflower, black eyed Susan, banana, and zinnia. With these simple 5 or 6 flowers, I attracted hundreds of monarch into my cemented backyard since 2018 to this day. And I'll show you some of the pictures later. You don't need fancy garden. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars and creating these humongous, unless you have the room and the money, of course, you can. And I always tell people, I got nothing against the native plants. We all want to plant as much natives as we can. But if a person lives in my situation or lives in an apartment building, they can attract something with a couple of pots right in their balcony. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a native plant, because the natives do need the room to grow, do need the room to spread. So any type of situation will attract something at some point. This is the lantana. This is the butterfly bush, swan. Guys were made naturally. All these guys were made. Butterfly bush. Again, swan. That's the little yellow and reddish flower, orange flower, the tuberosa. This is the bone flower. That was my very first butterfly that I raised the same time. This one is pretty picture. Red gold, yeah. Swan, Mexican sunflower. This is the front of our house. Right now, there's different flowers anyway, but there's this sign advertising to people that walk by that we do have a free milkweed seeds. Basically, just call me or knock at the door, and the seeds will be in your hand. This is the part that I was telling you, local nurseries. Some do sell them still. Some they're too busy to play with milkweed. But I always recommend the Ann Bundy nursery because she's been doing a good job. This is what she did this year. I gave her probably over 2,000 seeds. Instead of doing 2 or 3 batches, she grew it all at once. I went there, I was scared. I said, the heck is going to buy all. I think she sold out because she asked me for more seeds about a month ago or a month and a half, so she grew some more. And these are the actual prices that she was selling it this year. The 3 packets, so there were 3 common mercury for $3, and the swap was for good. So this is basically what we've been doing, what we've been trying to convince or reason with people. And if you want to see the Monarch, the butterfly in our neighborhood for the future, you need to concentrate basically on planting some mercury due to those reasons. The loss of habitats across North America, the climate change, and the illegal logging in the Mexican winter is always bringing the butterfly population in decline. And we cannot do much about 2 or 3 of those, but we can sure plant some mercury to guarantee that our children in the future will still see them. That concludes the presentation. If I had my computer, hooked up, I want to show you what my friend Guerino does in the field, how we dig the actual mercury by positioning the shelf, the shovel, I should say, right straight down around the plant, about 8 to 10 inches in diameter. And then we take that plant, we put it in a pail, and we take it home, dig a hole, put some water underneath, and that plant will never know that it is changing location. And the beauty of that, of course, is that we're saving the plants from the fields where they're going to get lost anyways, and we give a chance to a person to have a butterfly to supply food for their babies in the following spring instead of waiting 2 or 3 years by planting the seeds. But unfortunately, the computer is now
Leo,
up.
thank you.
I'll show you.
I want to ask you though, I want to ask if there's any questions, or you might.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
a couple
Go ahead,
questions, so we
Tony.
got time for a couple questions?
Yeah.
So you do your complete garden in containers.
Yeah.
So the milkweed plant that you have this year, will they grow again next year?
Yes, yes.
So you just bring them into your garage and then put them back out, or?
No, the ones that are in a large container, that's a good question, because in the first year I lost 90% of all my potting, perennials, I should say, not only winter. By leaving them outdoor in the winter, when we get rain during the day and sub-freezing temperature at night, most roots will deteriorate. That's how people lose a lot of perennials in the winter, even if they're in the ground, if they don't have good drainage. And pots, unfortunately, do not drain that good when they're sitting in cement. Now, after I lower that, now in a spotter, I bring them in under my bed. So in other words, they don't get wet. I just water them last time in December, as long as the water comes out of the hose. And then I let them be until March, when they all going to come back. Doesn't have to be garage, doesn't have to be, they could be outdoor, but covered, protected from the rain.
Thank you, but before that, I got a quick question. So the ones that are outside, my brother has some outside, those are gonna eventually die, or do they die and come back if they're actually old enough?
The plants?
Yeah.
No, they all come back. If they're planted in the ground, there's enough drainage that they always come back. Now, occasionally, like everything else with perennials, I've heard people that have lost butterfly bushes, throughout the winters. But that was because of the mother nature, sometimes the roots, they get too weak or too old or whatever, so they kind of die. But for the most part, they always come back.
Leo, thank you for now. Love to know more. I don't know if we're gonna get this PowerPoint sent to us or not. Be nice to have all those websites.
I
and
have
stuff,
it I have it on the web. I'll email about all the
so if
information.
you email Bob or Deborah or both, or, that we can keep it as a group. Here's a thank you for you and for Reno, even though he must be your support, so give him that as well. But I did want to say, my brother's been raising monarchs, my brother and his former girlfriend. Now she's raising more monarchs than he is. But, there's an interest in doing that around, and I'm glad you came to share that with all of us. It was a very wonderful presentation. So
Thank you.
thank you very much. Pictures of Paul and Phyllis.
Yeah, why don't we do